Start listening to real men, men with standards, masculine men, men who are not looking for the same thing that you're looking for. One thing, folks can say what they want to say about the late Kevin Samuels, but he spoke mostly facts in terms of how men think, especially as it relates to women and relationships. And I can say this because I'm married to a real man, a masculine man, and he told me, number one, what caught his eye and what made him want to marry me. And I can tell you for sure what Mr. Samuels said was right on point. All right. Maybe you didn't like his delivery, but one thing you have to remember about Kevin Samuels was he was just as vocal with the men as he was with the women. He told the men to be generous. He told them to improve themselves, to work however many jobs they needed to work, to stop making excuses for not having money. He told them to get in shape. He said some stuff to them. He was not easy on the men. And I think sometimes we forget that. And the thing was, when I listened to his shows, what I noticed was most of the time the men listened and maybe they would laugh or chuckle or whatever. But the women were the ones who had all the rebuttal. And I was befuddled because they knew what he was about. Like they knew how he approached things. They understood this, but they would still get on there and do what they do. So let me not digress. I would listen to the women and I would hear these things and I would be like, you have got to be kidding me. Is she serious? Like, I could understand his frustration. And here's the thing, ladies. If you want to be happily married, it would be to your advantage to listen to two types of people. Hear me. Real men and married women, or let me say, happily married women. And I say this because real men know what real men want. And married women, because they know how to get what you want, all right? They have the proof. This is where I come in. I'm Verlyn, your favorite pre-marriage coach, and the auntie you didn't know you needed. Welcome back to Before You Do with Verlyn podcast, where my goal is to help support 1 million women in being and staying happily married. Ladies, there's a ton of noise and nonsense being thrown around online, and neither of them will get you what you want. I am going to use this realtor analogy because my husband and I have owned a few homes in our real estate days. And whenever we wanted to sell a home, we used a realtor, right? Because he or she was a professional. They understood the market. They could come in and do what they needed to do to help us meet a goal. Okay. And so the realtor told us what the market value was on our home. She looked at the surrounding homes in our area, and pulled the comps. And that was in order to compare it and set a competitive price for our home. We didn't want to come under the price and we didn't want to go over the price because we wanted to secure a buyer. Now, we made our home our home. That means we had our pictures up, we painted all the color walls we wanted, we planted the flowers we wanted, we had the carpet that made us feel comfortable, all of the things, right, that made our home personal, okay, all of our personal taste. And we lived there, we valued and we enjoyed it. However, when the realtor came to judge or assess the appeal of our home to those in the market to buy, she wasn't interested in what we liked about our home. She didn't care about all the nuances, right? She told us what the buyers were looking for, and if we wanted someone to choose our home, we had to comply or they wouldn't buy, right? We had to comply because there were other homes in the area at times that were also on sale. Okay. So when she walked through our home, she said, okay, you got to take down all the pictures because buyers want to come into the house and they don't want to see your pictures. They want to imagine themselves in the home, right? So we took the pictures down. We took down all the pictures of Big Mama and them and Uncle Bobo, right? When she said, pull up the carpet because people like hardwood. Okay, we had to pull up the carpet. When she said plant yellow flowers in the front of the yard because it makes people feel cheerful when they pull up and it's very inviting when they come into your home. Guess what we did? We went to the plant shops and we planted as many yellow flowers that we could find because we wanted our home to be appealing to the potential buyers. We did everything she said to do to make our home marketable. We had to invest and we had to listen. We put down, or rather, We put our emotions aside and we did not take what the realtor said personally. So when she said, oh no, this needs to go, it had to go. When she said, bring this in, we had to bring it in. We did not fight against the one who was helping us sell our home because we didn't like what he or she had to say. We didn't say, well, if they don't like our home, that's too bad. Or I like my carpet. I'm not taking down pictures of Big Mama. That's my favorite picture of her. We did what we had to do and we sold the homes and we met our goals. I hope y'all hear me. Ladies, if you want to get a marriage-minded good man, you will have to listen to what the men want and make the proper investments. Just like there's a market for real estate, there's a market for women. Although this may not sound pleasing to the ear, it's a fact. There are standards. And if you want to be married, you have to meet the standard, right? We don't adjust the standard to meet individuals. That's not how it goes. It is what it is. I could not tell, or we could not tell our realtor what we were going to do and forget what the buyers wanted. It didn't work that way, or else we would still be sitting in those same homes, right? If our realtor told us, okay, I ran the comps in this area, in a certain radius, and the homes in this area are selling between $350,000 and $400,000. We can say ours is worth $800 because we love it and it has all of our memories and we've built our family here and all of that. But guess what? None of that jazz is going to matter to the buyer. They will expect to pay what's the going rate or the going price of the area that we are in. They will not care, or they did not care about our emotional ties or our family memories in that house. They were there to make a purchase. I'm saying this to say, ladies, you can feel any kind of way you want to feel about what the market or what the men dictate, what they want and need, but it is what it is. If you choose to listen to what real men or married women say, I guarantee you have a much better chance of being marketable in terms of marriage-minded men because you're hearing truth and not fallacy. You're not listening to someone's unhealed emotions or biased opinions. And a lot of that is going on today in the internet world. And it's unfortunate, but this is where we are. And you have to make a choice. When we as women resist and buck the facts and what's proven, we get what we see today. Take a look. The proof is right there. Ladies, we have to stop resisting the answers that are right in front of us because they are not packaged the way we want them packaged. We have to reject the noise and all the nonsense coming from folks who don't have what we want and certainly cannot show us how to get it. You cannot teach someone to do something you haven't done. It's just like the Bible says, the blind leading the blind, and everybody's falling into a ditch. That is where we are. We have fallen into the abyss of ditches because y'all listening to all these folks who are not where you want to be. We have it backwards. We listen to the people we shouldn't be listening to, and we reject and resist the very ones who have the answers because they're not putting it the way we want it to be put. What am I saying? We are leading with emotion instead of leading with logic. Instead of leading with some form of humility to say, you know what, maybe I don't like the way this sounds, but I'm going to filter this through thoughts and I'm going to filter this through non-emotions. I'm going to sit with this and think about what's being said. And I'm going to process this and see if it makes sense. I'm not going to process it through the lens of my emotions or how I feel or all the loud opinions that are out there that are anti what it is that I want. We got to make it make sense. What does that look like? It means sitting and just listening, not to rebuttal, not to argue, not to reject, but listening to understand and say, does this make sense? And then think about what you've been doing and whether or not that has gotten you what it is you want or need. And saying, if that hasn't worked and if this hasn't worked, maybe I better check this out. Sometimes the things that are not so palatable are things that we need. An example, this country, we like sweet stuff. sometimes sour. But there is actually a thing called bitters, but we're not privy to that. All we want is what tastes good, the sweet, sweet sweets, the sugar, maybe a little sweet and a little sour. But we are not, for the most part, familiar with bitters. And I'm saying this because I just got some soursop bitter stuff, and it is for cleansing. And sometimes that's what we need. We need some bitters and not everything that's sweet to our palate. Some bitters to shake some things up inside and to release some of this off thinking that we have, to purge some of this bad experience and to be able to clean our thoughts. And in that way, we can take in new thoughts that make some sense and new thoughts that will get us to where we're trying to get to. Ladies, let's park it and let's reroute and get on the path that leads to where we want to go. Listening and execution is what wins the game. I'll say it again. Listening and execution is what wins the game. Thank you for joining me. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. If you haven't already, please share this out with 3 or 4 of your friends. Visit my website at verlyntarlton.com. That's VerlynTarlton.com. Pick up your freebies. And in the meantime, may you experience extraordinary love. Bye for now.